Hey there, this is Sen from Eisten Gaming. Welcome to the stream. Now this is a special one. I have had a look at stuff or tools I could cover in the game dev stream. Good up Kid reporting and hi Cripperson, how's it going? Good to have you here. So I came across this tool named, or this editor named Gamefroot. Also, funnily enough, it was endorsed by a friend of mine I know from New Zealand. And judging from the accent the guys have in the tutorials, I would assume this game is from New Zealand or was made by devs in New Zealand. Now, this is what you would call an editor, a game editor for 2D platformer style or top-down style games. Now, the specialty about this thing is it's geared, I would say it's geared towards kids from, I would hazard a guess, from 10 to 12, 13 years and up. But it is extremely well done. I spent a few hours to learn the game. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm here. Creeper, do you see me? I'm on the other side of the screen now. This is because I would cover up too much information on the game side. I hope you can handle it, Crib. And Crib is, by the way, Crib is a regular on the stream, so we're making fun of him, and he makes fun of me all the time, so that's normal. Okay, so let's actually start making. If you browse to the site, which is gamefruit.com, you come to this little landing page, and what you do there is you just click Start Making, and it loads the editor. I have, as I said, had a bit of a play around in the tool for a few hours. And I have been working through the tutorials. I've done my own the Eisten Gaming's platform, an ultra high difficulty platforming game for adults and grown-up kids and whatever. Now this is the layout that you get when you start the application. Now there is a few aspects to this. The layout is pretty simple. We have the bar to the left, which consists of 3 tabs, which is the media tab. As you can imagine, it's game media, it's assets. Then you have the code tab, which is covering all the scripts that you did in this game. And there's the levels. You also see the levels up here. I have done 4 levels. The first level is the start screen that you see here. The second level is the actual level that we're gonna cover in the next few minutes. Then the level 3 is the winning screen, and the level 4 is the game over screen. So that's that. If you go to media, if you create a new game, you can actually add graphics. I'm using the graphics set or the game pack that they have defined in a tutorial. I followed the tutorial, or a few tutorials to get this going now, so to get my bearings in the game. But there's quite a few to choose from. So if you go to the marketplace, media, explore marketplace, there's a few selections that you can go for. I've taken the Ngata Karo thing, but you can use any of the provided. I think they're all free. I haven't found anything on the paid side, so I would assume the editor and the overall product is still in alpha or in beta. So they're adding the microtransactions and all this kind of business stuff later. So all of the stuff that you see is free. You can use mix and match how you want to. I'm going with the tribal thing, as I mentioned. I think it's also New Zealand, Maori oriented, but that's fine for this kind of game. Now, this is the left side tab, media, code, and the levels. Now, you don't have too much going on up here. You have the undo redo. You have the game settings, which covers the logo that you can do. You can give it a name. You can give it a summary. Let's give it a summary. You can do a screen size, and then you can upload an image, and you're good. That's all you need to do. The magic happens if we go into the level design. Now, this is the usual screen that you have when you design a level. There's 3 aspects to it. The first aspect that we want to cover is the layers. Now, you see I have locked 2 layers. the tile map layer, this is, let's unlock it. Let's hide the other ones. Let's go to the tile map. This is actually the, let's say, the ground. This is where the characters stand on, where things, where physics are rooted, grounded on. This is the tile map. The tile map is special. This is a special map, as you see with this icon. Everything that you drag into the tile map is scaled to one tile. What you also need to know is this is the basic where you lay out the level. This is the level layout. You can use any kind of asset. You can probably these ones. You can mix and match. You can enter some, add some stuff in here, and design the level as you go along. Now, the cool thing about this level design aspect is you can do something like this, and it will automatically make sense of the tiling. So the grass is on top, the rocky side is down there. So you can just click on an item, drag the left mouse button, and it will draw. And you lost, Cribberson lost his sand bits again. He gambled and he lost. Okay. This is the designing the tile on the tile map. This is done exclusively on the tile map. And that, as far as I understand the editor, this is the only thing that happens on the tile map. The rest is happening on the background layers and any additional layers, game logic layers, as you can define them as you wish. So let's update that again. Let's give it a bit more twist here. And what you can do with the tile map is you can place objects. You can you would probably restrict that to tiles on the tile map. Makes sense. Hence the name. You can not much with the selection, but you can get rid of the stuff on the icon, and you can paint. Then you have the icon back. This is not used in the tile map, I think, and you can erase. So if you want to get rid of the stuff, any single tile or a selection of tiles, just use the eraser tool to do that. Then I go back into painting. I actually use this one, and we're good. We're back. Now, this is what you do there. The last icon up here in this little menu is the pen. But you can do the same. You can stay on the cursor on the painting tool, and you can click the middle mouse button and do the same. Drag and do the same as you would with the pen tool. So if you want to keep this on the mouse cursor and continue painting, I don't know, down here, but that's actually the wrong. Let's make it nice. You would do it like that. You would press the middle mouse button, move on the screen, drag, and you will get the position that you want to. Okay, so this is the tile map. As I said, the tile map is special. It defines the level layout on a 2D side view. And what I usually do is I do lock the layer when I'm done designing the level. This will help me not accidentally place stuff on the tile map. You can do that, but it's not working. If you place stuff on the tile map, you cannot add scripts, and you need to be able to add scripts to have game logic as assigned to objects. So let's lock the tile map, and let's display the background and the background image again. Now, the main thing that happens is in the so-called background type. I think this is a standard layer, layer. This is a standard layer that is applied when the game is opened. You can add as many layers as you want. I haven't seen any restrictions so far. So on the background layer, you can place all the rest. You can organize this into layers as you see fit, but it should be on a separate layer than the tile map. Okay, now the tile map is locked. You can of course hide and display it as we saw before. Now on the background layer, you do most of the actual game logic. The first thing is you paint stuff, or you place stuff. Now this is a platformer, and this is a hugely difficult game. So there's obstacles. These are obstacles, for example. And there's collectibles. These are collectibles. Think of Mario, where you have this ding going on when you go get one of these coins. So the goal is to collect as many of these coins as possible, and then get to this position down here. This is the winning condition. When you reach this point, you win the game. Now, this is extremely simple, but for the sake of the first glimpse at Gamefroot, this is more than enough for us to cover. There's a lot of script happening in the background. We will cover each of the scripts in detail. So we have the character, we have the obstacles, we have the coins or the collectibles, and we have the winning condition, which is reaching this point and actually touching this little map here. Okay, you can add as many things as you wish. You can place objects, make the level look more interesting. You can place obstacles, as you see. There's animals you can place. There's backgrounds you can place. We'll talk about this separately. You have characters that you can place on screen. You have doors that have logic attached to them. Effects, you can have effects, which I haven't used so far, but it's going to be one of the next things. Ground detail, you can do stuff like that and just add a little flavor. I don't know. That doesn't really fit. Let's do it another time. Then you can add icons if you want to do I don't know, clickable stuff. Then there's the user interface, which we'll see in a moment as well. Matariki stars, I have no idea what they do, but I'm going to try this out over the next few days. Objects, obstacles, stuff like that. And this is the place. This is the player characters. There's a selection of them. I took this one. I think it's this little guy, and there's the tiles as we saw before. There's also a tracer map. This is quite cool. This is something you can place on the tile map in the background, and it allows you to follow a specific layout. So if you have prepared one of these tracer maps, it's like a tracer map. Really, you have it in the background and you follow along. You fill the spaces like they're laid out on the tracer map. That's what that's for. And trees and stuff like that, we'll leave that for now. So as I mentioned, the overall layout is the tile map, which is the level layout. Then we have the winning condition, the collectibles, the obstacles, and the player. That's all we have so far. The rest is actually done by the scripts. And we will start looking at the scripts by just playing a little. Let's play and see what the whole thing does. And then we go into the detail. Now we have seen that we have this little starting screen. I can click anywhere on the screen. Actually, I don't need to click on the button here, but I click. And then my character is placed in the level. I can move with the cursor keys. So I can move left, I can move right. There's an animation. I can press the up key to jump, and I can actually double jump. Now the goal is to get around the level, collect these little coins, and you will see the score in the upper left corner counts the number of that was lucky, of coins. And if I touch one of the obstacles, bam, it's game over. I have to start again. Bam, game over, start again. So this is the obstacles. Ooh, I was lucky there too. There we go. Okay, it's not easy. I have designed a very difficult game. It's even too difficult for me to resolve. Now let's try to actually make it to the winning condition and see what happens if we make it to the it's actually not as easy as it looks. Make it to the screen. Bam. Now we win. This is the condition. So you can make this is extremely basic, obviously. You can make this as difficult and as elaborate as possible. You can add multiple levels, of course. You can have a level exit. You can go to the next screen, the next level, and so on and so forth. There's no limitation to that. I think the important thing to know is that levels are also used to display information. Like I said, level 1 is the starting screen. Level 2 is the actual first level. Level 3 is the winning screen. Level 4 is the game over screen. Okay, now we have seen that the game has a certain logic to it. And most of this logic is tied to the objects that need to do anything. And in this case, the most of the stuff is happening on the character side. Now, when I click on the character, I can right-click the model, go to Edit Script or Add Script if there is no script assigned. And you see how the logic is done. Now, if this reminds you of Lego Mindstorm, the Mindstorm programming interface, this is extremely close, and I love it. This is really, really cool. My daughter is too small for it. She's just 1 year old, but for kids, this is a brilliant way to start programming or getting into the game logic, because what you do is actually correct. It makes sense. It's just done in a nice, colorful, graphical way. Now let's take a question from the chat. Movement speed and such can be adjusted. Yes, it can be. We will go over each of the logic blocks and we will go into detail what each of that does. Now, as I mentioned, this is the logic that is tied to the player. The script is tied to the player character, or the character that you steer as a player. Now, a few things happen when the game starts. Now, let's start up here. When the level starts, this is actually something you get from events. When the level starts, you drag it onto the field, and then you add logic to it. We have this already, so we don't need to do that. But this is the general thing, and you see there's a ton of stuff. This editor is it might look simple, but the depth of on the programming on the logic side is immense. It's really cool. So I'm quite happy about that. Okay, so when the level starts, you can change that. When the level switches, when the level starts, do what is in this little bracket, and the sequence is from top to down and from left to right if there's any stuff like down here. We'll see that in a minute. Now, when the level starts, we set the gravity of y to 800. So there is gravity. If you don't do that, there is no gravity, and one jump will bring you into space. You'll be flung into space if you press the jump button. And the other thing is, you need to set for this object to be true, the gravity to be true. Let's say the gravity is applied to this object, and this object, as you remember, is the player character. Let's go out again. You see I'm pressing the right button on the player character, edit script. Now, if I refer to me or set without any object referenced, it's the actual owner of the script, which is the player character in this case. So the player character will react to this force, to gravity. Now, another thing that happens on player start, the score in the upper left corner is set to 0. And also I'm creating a text field, which is the text 0, which we just saw. This is the text representation on the screen, and this is the actual score value. Now, excuse me, you might have, let's play again. You might have wondered why the background is just in the upper left corner, but when I play, it actually follows me around. It follows the camera around. Oh, that already. This is difficult, this game. Now, this is because of this little piece of logic down here. Constantly means what the word says. Constantly, this is applied every single tick of the game all the time. So it's constantly applied. Now, what we do constantly with each tick is center the camera on myself, which is the character up. So the camera follows the character when I move through the scene. That's the first thing. And the other thing that happens is I set the X position of the text field, which is the score that you saw in the upper left corner, to the camera X, and set the Y position to the camera Y. So I'm linking the score. Let's play again. I'm linking the score to the actual camera. So if I move, you will see the black 0 up here follows us through the level. It follows us through through all exploration of the level. It sticks to the camera. Okay, now another thing that I mentioned, the background screen, but this is in a different on a different object. I will show you separately. Now this is when the level starts. The other one we just looked at is constantly. Now movement is the next big thing that happens when the character is used in the game. Now we have the left arrow that we use, the right arrow, and the up arrow. Left arrow goes left, right arrow goes right, the up arrow jumps. And if I press it again, the up arrow again, while we are in the air, I can double jump. But you will see, we'll go over the logic down here. I can't triple jump and I can't quadruple jump, so I can just double jump. And the logic, as we see, is down here. We'll cover that in a second. Now, what happens if I press the right arrow button? This is when right arrow button is pressed. This is also, I think it's here. Yeah, when the player presses something. I think this is here. Yeah, no, it's actually this one. You will drag this one out in events and replace the backspace delete, which is the standard key, with the key that you want. So we don't need that. We have this already here. So if the right arrow is pressed or is released or is held, you can drag these three things. Set the velocity on X to 200. And this is what the question was referring to in chat. can you adjust the speed, the movement speed? You can. What we actually could do as well is we could do a shift key sprint or something like that. So if you press the shift key, we could make the character sprint even faster, get a speed boost, and the velocity would be set to 300 or even 400. So if I press the right arrow, the velocity in X direction is set to 200, which will propel the character to the right. And it will play an animation called run. Now, whenever I press the right arrow key, the run animation is triggered. Now, this is a special case. Let's look at the game again when we play, and I will get into a little detail. You see that the character flips around. If I press right, the character flips and watches and faces to the right. If I press the left button, the character switches sides and faces to the left now. Now, the logic to do that is actually what I just mentioned. If we set the X scale of myself, which is the character, to 1, it is in the original or the right orientation. Now, if we look at the left arrow logic, a few things have changed. Actually, exactly the same, except that the velocity is set to X minus 200, so it's in the left direction. The same animation is played, and we set the X scale of myself to -1. Scaling -1 is the same as mirroring across the X-axis in this case. We could also do this on the Y-axis, but in this case we're flipping the character. So mirroring a character in one of the axes is doing by scaling by -1. And this is why the character flips around. I agree, Crib, this is the simplification is really cool. But the power of this editor is the logic makes sense. It's just displayed and presented in an extremely accessible and nice style. And I've said it, but I'm saying it again. I'm really impressed by the depth, all that you can do in this logic. So this is the left arrow key and the right arrow key. Now, one thing that's missing is when I press the right arrow key, it would start running the character, but it would never stop. Now we need to add more logic to make it work. Now we have added another loop or another bracket, which is when the right arrow is released. When I get off the key, when I release the key, we set the X velocity to 0 and play the animation idle. So he's tapping his foot, he's standing around, he's idling around, but he's not moving anymore. Now, whenever I press the right arrow button, it's the character's running to the right. When I release the key, the character stops and returns to the idle animation. Same, vice versa on the left arrow side. When I press the left arrow, the character flips, goes to the left side, runs to the left side. When I release the key, stops, plays the idle animation, and we're good. Now, the special case is the jump. This is how we do jumping. We press the up arrow, and there's a bit of if-else logic happening here. So let's go through it step by step. As I said, the logic goes from top to bottom, and for a single item, it goes from left to right. You read it from left to right. So when I press the up arrow, the following happens. The velocity in the Y direction is checked. So if I have a velocity, which means I am jumping or I am falling. If this is 0, then I'm standing on the ground. I'm not falling and I'm not jumping. So when velocity is 0, I set the velocity to -500, which gives the character an up spin or an up force. I set the number of jumps to 1. We're keeping track of the number of jumps in this variable. Now, if the velocity is not 0, then this comes into play, else if. So if the velocity is either 150 or -100, -50 is not 0, then this block is executed. Now, if the number of jumps is 1, then we set the number of jumps to 2, and this is done by set number of jumps and then add the current number of jumps, which is this variable here, this little thing here. And add 1 to it. And as you see, this is all done by adding these little jigsaw pieces into the right places. And there's a lot of logic that checks whether you place the right type of jigsaw piece into the right slot and stuff like that. So you can't really do anything wrong. It might not work as you wish, but you cannot break the system. You cannot break the script. I haven't been able to so far. I've tried. So if the number of jumps is 1, the number of jumps is set to 2, and we set the velocity again to minus 500. So this logic allows us to do the double jump. If we try a triple jump, then this will not work because we have a jump higher than 1, higher than 2, and this would not fit anymore. So there would be no possibility to jump a third time. You can extend this logic as you wish, but this is the double jump logic, the jump and the double jump logic as we have it in the game right now. Now, I've mentioned 2 other things in the game, and one is the obstacles, and the other one is the collectible. Now, this is collision detector. This is what we want to do with collision in the game. Collision means I'm with the character I'm overlapping or I'm touching another object. Now, if in this case we have the obstacle as I mentioned and the collectible. If I touch the obstacle, now this is a bit more complicated. What we're doing here is this only happens when I'm getting touched by anything. Now I need to find out what touched me, and this is what this is doing. So the instance of the toucher, in other words, the object that is touching me right now, or the player character in this case, has a tag obstacle. A tag is just a little word that we can assign to an object. So if this object that I have just touched has the tag obstacle, then it is an obstacle. And if I touch an obstacle, I lose the game. I'm not allowed to do that. And this is why I go to level 4, which is the game over screen, when I did that. So let's repeat that. If an object that I'm touching has the tag obstacle, then I go to level 4, and level 4 is the game over screen. So this is the basic logic. Now, if I touch the object you win, or the little map on the level, then I go to the level 3, which is the you won, or the you have solved the level screen, and then you can start the game again. But it's the same logic. It looks at what touched the character, the player character, takes the instance and looks for the tag you win. If the object has the tag you win, it goes to level 3, which is the you have won the game level. Now there's one more thing which is a bit more complicated, and this is the if we touch a collectible, the same thing happens. If I jump, let's play it, I'll show you again. You see these little icons in the game. I jump, and if I touch it, it goes away. Now the logic behind that is as follows. First, I look if the instance of the toucher has the tag collectible, so it is a collectible. If so, I set the number of the score to the current number plus 1. Each coin gives me 1 score. So with each coin, I'm setting the I'm adding 1 to the overall score. Now, if I did touch it, next I'm updating the score, and the next thing that happens, the object is destroyed. Because if I'm colliding with the coin, I want the coin to be removed from the game because I've collected it, it's not there anymore. This is the destroy that's happening. So I'm destroying the object that I have touched. The other thing that happens is I'm setting the text field to the score, the actual score. So here I have updated the score with 1. I've collected an icon or a coin. I've collected the coin. I've updated the score by 1. I've destroyed the coin. Now I'm setting the text to the correct value. Let's play again. Let's see what this looks like in the actual game. So you see there's 0. We have not collected any coins. We collect 1. It's updated to 2, to 1, and then to 2. And this is exactly what happens here. We set the text field to the correct score. This is how the logic works to cover the collectibles. One thing, this is the character logic. Now let's dive a bit into the logic or the scripts of the other items. There's 2 ways you can actually get to a script. You can click on an item or an object, right click, edit script, and then you're in the script. Or you can go to code and then edit code if you know the name of the of the object, or of the script behind the object. So you can click, right click, edit script, obstacle. Now there's this is the obstacle. This is the thing that kills the player and he has to restart the level again. Now there's a small bit of logic added to this. And this is added when created. This is also in the events. So you have on the event side when created, which means when the object is created, which is really early in the when the game is set up and is loaded into memory and prepared for your playing session. The object is created. When the object is created, I'm doing two things. I'm setting it to immovable. I'm setting immovable to true, which means it cannot move. If I would set this to false and we play, I think it will still kill me. Let's give it a shot. Yeah. So what would happen if it wouldn't kill me is I would be able to move the object around the level. So set this immovable to true because I don't want the player to be able to push that obstacle around the level. You'll be just pushing them off the level, and it would be really easy to solve the issue or solve the game, the level. The second thing that happens is I'm adding a tag, and we have discussed the tag when we went through the logic on the player character. Now I'm adding a tag with the name obstacle on myself. And in this case, myself is the obstacle. Myself is this thing here. And since the same script is applied to all of these objects which look the same, you see this little icon. They all behave in the same way. So instead of right-clicking, let's actually go to obstacle and edit, and we're on the same page. You see that this is two ways to do the same thing. Okay, this is how you add the tags on the objects and then refer to the tags in another script. Now, I mentioned the background image. This is a special beast. If we open the background image, there's actually logic to that. And there's two things which we need to do, or three things that we need to do to make this work. You have seen that the background image is following the player. It always sticks to the camera. And we do this by adding a constantly bracket. This is run all the time through the whole game. And this does two things. It sets the X position of the image, myself, it's the image in this case, the background image, to the camera position X. So it ties the position in X and in Y to the camera. So this means if I move the player, since the camera is tied to the movement of the player, the background image will follow the whole thing. So it will always be behind the player. So this is done by these two little things. We set the X position of the image to camera, the Y position to camera, it will stick to the camera. The second thing is that we need to do is we need to set physics enabled false. Because we have physics in the game, if we leave this on, let's actually try it out what happens. Let's leave this to true. Go for the play session, start. And actually in this case nothing happens. Okay, interesting. The when I did the level, what happened was the background image was falling down. It actually had gravity for some reason. But I'm not quite sure if this is still the case, if we still need this. But it is good practice probably to set physics disabled, because any physics that happen in the game could interfere with this thing, and you would have strange errors. So I would recommend for this background image to have physics disabled. So set physics enabled to false. Okay, let's save that. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that the background image needs to go on a separate layer. It's actually this one. So I would have a separate layer, put the image there, and put it on the lowest position. So put it all the way down, because this is from the visibility side. You wouldn't see anything if you have it on top. So the background image is the lowest layer, but then the background is the actual game logic, the game items, which are on the middle level, and the tile map is on top. I'm not quite sure if the tile map needs to be on top. I'm not sure about that, but it doesn't hurt. So, and it's locked. And the other thing I'm usually locking when I'm not working on it anymore is the background layer, the background image. So this is the image. I've locked it so that I don't inadvertently click on it and move it. So if it's unlocked, I can just grab it and do things like that. I don't want that. Let's make sure that it's locked like this. It is really good practice because you shouldn't work on the tile map except you're doing the level layout, and you shouldn't work on the image background if you have done it. So lock these and then make sure that you work on the background. And if you lock them, you can't inadvertently place items on that and do other strange stuff. Okay, so this is it from the layer side. The level side I've mentioned. There's a few aspects to this as well. You can just click here to add a new level. You can do as many as you want. I haven't seen any restrictions on that. And then you can name them. You can set the size and all this kind of stuff. Let's look at that. Now, one thing you can do is you can switch them, and this will actually change the number. Now, be careful if you move them around, because they will change the number. Let's do that, and you will see it switches numbers. And if you do that, and then if you in code reference the number of the layer, or the number of the level, sorry, it will fail. So if you, for example, have your winning screen on level 4, you game over on level 3, the game over on level 4, and you move that around, if you reference the number, it will fail. So if you win the game, it will go somewhere else. Keep this in mind if you move around these things. That you need to take care of that if you reference a level by number. Now, two things that are related to screens or levels and the actual game is the world size. Now, the game setting, the standard game setting is 960 by 540, which is half HD. And this is the standard setting I got when I started this game. Now, you might want to match your level setup to the game setup, but only if you want to match the screen size to the actual window size. Now, for the level, you might want this bigger, because I want to scroll the character. I want to pan the character and have a larger level than just the screen size. So let's play again to illustrate what I mean. So if you have the starting screen, this is the first level. As you see, start screen over here, this is the first level. This is exactly the game settings size. So this is the size of the game, the screen size of the game. If I start and I move the character, oh, I'm so bad at my own game. Let's try again. I'll move. You will see that the level scrolls and actually covers far more space than just the 960 by 540. So usually you will take this number and make it a multiple, or any size you want to that fits your fancy and your level design needs to any kind of size. You will do the level size as you need it. And if you go to the screens which cover additional logic, you will go back to the actual resolutions. So the start screen, the you win, and the game over screen are the actual game screen size or resolution, because I wanted to feel the whole game. And the level is larger because I want the play space to be available. So this is what you can do here. You can set backgrounds, for example, in the game over. I'm using this red as a background, so you know that you lost the game. In the you win, I'm not using any color. I'm using a background. That came with the graphic side, and this is how you lay out the whole thing. You can do as many screens as you want. I mentioned there's no limit so far as I've seen on the number of levels side, so this is how you do that. Levels and screens that you need during the gameplay are done like that. Now, one thing that you have probably noticed is, where did I get these graphics from? Everything I have used for making this little game, this little demo, is based on the Ngata Karo pack, which is in the marketplace. You go down, you find it here. Use anything else. You can use any pack with the same effect. Just make sure that you have the actual items or the assets that you need. Now, this screen, as well as the background screen that you see here, is actually from this pack. This little background here, I think it's this one. It's this little graphic, and the you win screen is a little further down in the interface section. you have this this little thing, you win, you see, I could put it there. This is readily made for you. You can just drag and drop it on the screen and it is usable directly. All right. So this covers most of the stuff that I wanted to have a look at today. Now, a few things that I noticed during working with this little editor is that it seems to be in either alpha or beta stage. As I mentioned, there's microtransactions are missing, and there's a few other things which I was not able to get them working. One was sound. I wanted to have audio. I wanted to have this Mario tingle ding going on when I collect coin. But I have the sound file. I uploaded it, but it didn't go anywhere. So I'm assuming that they're either working on that or they have they don't allow it for the time being. I don't know that. I need to talk to the devs about that, what their plans are on this. But in older tutorials, I saw that there is sound, there is audio in the game, but I'm not quite sure why it's not active or why I can't make it work. It works from the code side. So on the, we can actually have a look at that. If I go to code and look at the collectible code, I'm having the logic implemented. So when created, it adds the tag and the collectible tag. We have seen that for the obstacle. But when removed, when I touch it, you see that it's removed from the play space, from the play space, from the level. When removed, I want to play a sound effect, and so the logic is there to play sounds and to have audio. But the problem that I'm having is I'm not finding the actual assets, the sound files, the MP3s, the WAV files to really make the sound, or to make the sound work and be audible in the game. So I don't know whether this is a bug or whether they haven't allowed this for this kind of stage, or whether there's another reason for that. I don't know. I'll try to find out for the next session. So let me quickly think whether I have missed anything. Oh yeah, one thing that's important to know is you have to save your game from time to time. Don't forget that. So if you're working on the game, just go to File up here, click Save the game. It will save to the cloud, to their servers. And when you log back in, it is exactly in the same state that you had it when you started, or when you worked on it, when you designed the game. Another thing that's interesting or important to know is there's a possibility to publish the game. You can click on Publish. You can select a name, a summary. You can select an image for the thumbnail, and then it will be published to the I don't know, distribution server or publishing server that they operate. So it will be on screen. I have to do a little bit more work on this game to make it publishable, I would say. But I will definitely continue to cover this editor because I think it's extremely well done. I like especially the scripting side is extremely strong. I mentioned this. There's a ton of stuff to do. You can make extremely complex games, and I'm just scratching the surface on this one. You can do. Let's actually go over these and see the depth of the whole thing. I haven't even touch these. So this is probably Scratchbox. This is probably used for driving NPCs, which means non-player characters. So you can make them move, you can make them turn, stuff like that. So this is in the Scratch block, but I must say I haven't really used any of these, so I can't really speak for them. On the featured side, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I haven't even touched. Look at all these possibilities. I really need to dig into this and look at this. Probably one of the most important stuff that you will use in the beginning is the events. So you can react to when the level starts, when the object is created, when an object is removed constantly, which is constantly. We discussed this. When a stage is pressed, when we click on something, when there's keyboard presses, when you touch. This is actually also working for touch controls, and I think even for gamepad. So you can have gamepad controls in this game, or using gamepads for this editor, and also touch. I haven't done that, so I'm gonna try that and use it on my iPad just to see how it goes. So this is on the event side. You can broadcast, you can send messages, you can do a ton of stuff. Control flow is the conditional logic, loops. This is more programmy stuff. which is used to control the flow of the game, as hence the name. You have physics, and you can do a ton of stuff in the physics. On the physics side, gravity is just one of these little items that we used, or little concepts that we used in the game. You have collision. I don't know what probes are. I need to take care of that and take a look at that. Then there's transform. We used transforms to get X and Y positions of the camera, for example. Or you can set rotation, you can set positions. You can change the transform of objects. Transforming usually means translation, rotation, and scale. So you move things around in the level, you rotate things, and you scale things. And the same is true here as well. You have the position, you have the rotation, you have the scale. So you can do all that with transform. And this, if you convenience things like getting the position of a specific object, set the position, such as the beaming, or I don't know, using a teleport function to beam the character to someplace else. Then there's animation. Well, playing animation. We did play animations for the running and the idling, so we use that. We have looks. Looks is actually the camera stuff. I was a bit confused first that they call it looks, but the camera stuff and also the actual looks or the visual fidelity can be tweaked here. For example, as you see, the camera stuff, set the camera pan speed, set the camera offset, camera scale, camera position, the one we're using here. You would get it from the looks department, drag it over and use it there. This is done here, but also the visual side of it. So this is where you find the camera and related things. On the sensing side, this is the information about myself, mouse, like mouse position, touch, tagging, and stuff like that. So the tag stuff that we have down here would actually be in the sensing department. So adding a tag, as we saw on the obstacle or on the collectible, would be this one. And hashtag would be this one. So we have used this little thing here to make the instant touch or hashtag collectible work. So we just drag it and put it there and make it work. So this is sensing. Sound, as I mentioned, I'm not quite sure what the status is on sound. I haven't been able to play any sound, so I don't know what the status is with this, but I'll get back to that. On the operator side, this is Boolean logic, numeric logic, and anything that has to do with calculating things, or the operator side of that, and text, for example, lists, any kind of types, colors, stuff like that. This is in the operators section. Drawing is drawing shapes, drawing text, drawing any kind of special stuff on the screen. So when you remember that I had this little zero, this core in the upper left corner of the screen. This is actually done by you creating a text field with a draw in the draw function. On the functions side, I have to say I haven't used them. I cannot speak for them, so I don't know what they do. I have to look at that. Now, these are the variables. You can have as many as you want. You can create your own, and some are actually created when you do something. When you add a specific object, a variable for that is created. You see, for example, that we have the number of jumps that we track. We did this by creating a new variable. And we have, if you create a new variable, let's actually do what? Let's do a test variable, and let's make it of type number. There's various types, but let's make it a number. What happens is, you see that we have test variable, and you get two of these little jigsaw pieces. Now the jigsaw piece with a little dent in here, this is the setter. So you use this to set the variable to a specific number. For example, this would set the test variable to 0. Now, if you want to read the test variable, you would use this one. So this doesn't make any sense, but if we want to set the test variable to the test variable, we would use this. So this is the reader, this reads the variable, and this sets or writes the variable. This is how the whole thing works on the variable size. Now, as I mentioned, you have a variety of options. You can do Boolean logic, you can do true and false, you can do numbers, text, colors, lists, instances, which is objects in the on the level, specific instances of objects. Classes, this would be the class behind the instance or behind the object. You can do sound, finger, pointer, location. This is probably for the location is probably for the transform side, and finger pointing would be for the input side. So this is what you can do, and this is extremely powerful. You see there's a ton of possibility, and having all these little blocks at your disposal to be able to create logic in the game allows you to do really, really, really complex games. And what I want to do is I want to have a look at the actual publishing sites and see what the more adept players come up with, or designers come up with. It could be possible that you do really, really, let's say, complicated and intricate games with this. This is not kid stuff. It is easy, but there's a lot of stuff you can do. So this is really a good foundation to learn coding. As I mentioned in the beginning, if you look at player skip, it is done in a simple way. I admit that, and this is actually the brilliant part about it, because the devs have been able to hide the complexity of programming, of scripting, and still make it extremely powerful. So kudos to the developers for being able to create this extremely simple interface and also making it look nice and offering all the power and all the possibilities in this simple way. This is no small feat. I've been in game development for quite a while, and doing stuff like that is not easy. This is extremely difficult, especially to make it sure that it works all the time, that the logic is not breaking apart, and making this as simple as this is a great feature. And I've never seen this in an online editor, to be honest. I think this is a first. So I hope the devs continue developing this thing. I'm definitely going to revisit that at a later dev code toolbox session. But this is it for now. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm going a YouTube upload later, so if you have missed the beginning or a part of it, let's see you on YouTube, and have a great time. Enjoy the weekend. Bye-bye.